I suck at jiu-jitsu. How do I suck less at jiu-jitsu?
I guess to suck less.
The diabolical leader of the headlock squad.
Hey everybody, this is Josh McKinney. I just want to welcome you to the newest episode of the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. So today we are going to be looking at some Q&A hot take type episode, but we went to a different source. Today we are going to be looking at the top 10 wildest things that I've seen on Reddit. And I've been kind of saving this one for a long time because I don't go to Reddit a lot. But when I do, I always get to see something totally wild that somebody says. I always hope that those things are sarcasm, but a lot of times they don't seem like it. They seem like legitimate questions. So we are going to answer some of my favorite questions that I have seen on Reddit over the last couple years. But then I actually did a deep dive looking for some really old hot posts that were good and use some of those. I did change some wording on some posts, and I don't include names just because I don't want to be roasting anybody specifically. I like to be roasting people in general on the podcast. That is a much kinder thing. The only person that should get roasted specifically is me on the podcast, not you guys. So, but if you ask one of these questions and you notice that I'm about to make fun of you, I don't know, fast forward or something. YouTube lets you skip chapters, and so you could just jump right ahead and go to me making fun of someone else. Let's go ahead and get into it. This is actually a great one. And this is just on the strength versus technique debate. How much does raw strength really matter in BJJ? People always say technique beats strength, but it sure doesn't feel that way when a super strong newbie is smashing me. Do you incorporate weightlifting or strength training for BJJ, or do you rely purely on technique and cardio from rolling? You are going to get differing opinions on this from really good black belts. And so it's hard to really say exactly who is the most right in this kind of the technique versus strength thought process. I would say, yes, obviously strength matters. And you also have to look at strength and technique as like they are two things that matter and they are two different things. Okay, so sometimes, like I don't think we can debate it. There is a level of strength that can overcome the best technique that doesn't have strength, right? We all can acknowledge that if you weighed 90 pounds and you train forever in jiu-jitsu, and you go against somebody who is a great athlete at 260 pounds that really doesn't know much or knows how to wrestle, you are going to probably really, really struggle, maybe even get hurt in those type of rounds, right? There is a differential that is very, very relevant, and it doesn't seem like there is an amount of technique that can overcome it. And with that being said, that means that there is some type of ratio between the two. It's not just get good technique. Once you're a blue belt, you're going to be able to beat anyone who's strong. Someone who's strong that just knows how to stay on top, they're really hard for most blue belts to deal with. They're really hard for a lot of purple belts, especially as people age. You see this most with older guys that are your purple, your brown belts, and they started at an age that they could use strength and they could use athleticism. And basically, they use that strength and athleticism to fill gaps that their technique didn't have, right? You could feel them in certain positions, just muscle things, and they were great at muscling them, but they were using a lot of muscle. And then as they aged, they stop getting that physicality. You just stop having that same access to physicality. It's just how life works. And they feel like they start to get worse at jiu-jitsu. Like when you roll with these people, they can feel like, oh no, this person is legitimately getting worse. The only remedy for that, in my opinion, is to learn to remove your physicality, especially before you have to. If you are younger, learning how to roll smoothly without having to use strength. Honestly, the deep down goal should be to be able to beat everybody that you can currently beat by only using like 5% of your strength. Literally never really focusing much on having to squeeze, never really focusing much on having to pull, just being able to be so smooth and have such good timing that you're that efficient. Because if you have then that much access, you go and you can only look at, like, I liked how I think it was John Danaher on Lex Friedman. He talked about let's measure units of strength. And he said, that's obviously a figure of speech, but he said, let's say somebody has access to 100 units of strength and he's going against somebody that has access to 40 units of strength. The person with 40 units of strength would need to put the other person, put their opponent in a submission or a position that allows their 40 units of strength to go up against that person's whatever, one arm, which is 10 units of their whole strength, right? Obviously we can't just say, know this much technique and then you will beat strength. It's nice to have strong people that you roll with and you try to learn to be smooth against, but especially the way to do that is to start to look at, in the rounds that you win, can you use less strength? Can you remove that? That's the easiest way to start to note, to like change your pace and change the addiction to using strength in jiu-jitsu. And so I know that was more of a me kind of ranting about training method kind of thought, but back to the strength versus technique debate. Yes, they are two completely different things. Strength does matter. When you look at strength training, in my opinion, I look at jiu-jitsu through the lens of, I want to do jiu-jitsu. I'm 31. I've trained for 17 years. My dad is 63 or 4. Who knows? Who knows how old that guy is? But he and I still get to train jiu-jitsu together. We actually had a really good round. If I'm being totally honest with you guys, he had been dealing with some health stuff, and he's told you guys about it. But he was kind of like in one of those days of feeling good, and I just didn't realize it. And I was just, honestly, I was trying to be chill. He's an old man, but he came up on a single leg on me, and I responded to it, and then he responded back. I don't even remember the exact transition, but there was just this point in that exchange where I go, oh my gosh, his hips are on top. I'm already on bottom. I didn't even realize that I'm on bottom, and he swept me, and I didn't sweep him back, and he beat me 2-0. But honestly, sweep for sweep, in the streets, does that even count? No submission? I don't think so. But I get to experience rolling with my dad all the time, and it's this fun thing for me. I'm sure that he told my mom, like, hey, don't tell Josh, but I beat him 2-0, right? Like, I'm 30, I have a child, like, I run a business, and this dude's still talking trash to my mom about it, and it's a blast. It's something that we get to experience that I know so few people do. And it's very cool to recognize it as this like cool blessing. And so I've gotten to see that the real goal for all of us, in my opinion, yes, we can have competition goals and all these other ones before it, but I don't think that any of us, when we get there, are going to be happy that we sacrificed our future for being able to train, like for being able to win something today. Like, okay, I'm going to abuse my body in a way that I'm not going to be able to train 10 years from now. And it's going to be okay because I'm going to have gold medals, right? And whether you win those or not, 10 years from now, you will be sad that you don't get to train jiu-jitsu anymore, because you realize, it's like people always look at these points on their journey and say like, oh, this is the end of the journey. This is all that matters. This is all that matters. And you don't realize, no, it's the journey that matters. That's the fun part. Getting to train jiu-jitsu day to day, getting to have the relationships that you have with jiu-jitsu, and getting to look through that lens and saying, I want to train jiu-jitsu in my 60s. And to do that, I have to be smart in my 30s. And even I was realizing this in my 20s. And now I'm going, how can I remove as much strength and athleticism from my jiu-jitsu? How can I remove more? How can I remove more? Because one, I think as a competitor, it's very helpful to have that ability to control your pace, to not have to use much strength and athleticism. But two, it shows where you have holes in your technique, because the big point of this is most of us, we use, if we're younger, we are guilty of filling these gaps in our moves with being really physical, being really fast, being really strong. And we go, I'm good at jiu-jitsu. And like, maybe you are, but to be great, you've got to take that and make it more consistent and make it easier for yourself to be able to hit it on better guys. I promise you, the better the guy you go with, the less they're trying. It's unbelievable. The higher level the guy you go with, the more you are trying for them. And that is how we all should be focused on striving for jiu-jitsu. The short answer is absolutely strength matters. You should lift. You should actually buy Steve McKinney's strength training for BJJ. We're going to add we already have added a new seminar that he taught at Head Nod HQ, super secret seminar, because I didn't advertise it well enough. But a strength training seminar that we just added to that product. But Steve McKinney's strength training for BJJ, efficient BJJ strength in 15 minutes. Wow, we should have named that something cooler. Steve McKinney's cool strength training 15 minutes. It's too much. It's too much. We're going to have to chat GPT that. But anyway, let's go ahead and move. Datsusara makes gear for grapplers who hate crappy gear. My fanny pack, my backpack, even the gi that I wore today, all Datsusara. The gi feels ridiculously comfortable to wear, but what's interesting is it actually is a little bit hard for your opponent to grip. I've actually made all of my students who wear my size gi try it on, and nobody can believe the comfort. We all agree, most comfortable gi we've ever put on. And so now keep in mind, all of these products I've discussed are made from hemp. So that means that they'll last a very long time. They're eco-friendly. So that's good for you ecological approach CLA guys. And they just don't trap that classic gym funk. So if you're interested, go to dsgear.com and use promo code ISUCK, and you can get 10% off anything in the store. You can upgrade your gear to something that not only that you'll like, but that you'll actually look forward to wearing. Check them out. Dude, just be on top. You'll always be on top. Just be on top. And don't even worry about bottom. Brock did get put on bottom, though, against Cain Velasquez, and that really did put him away, in a fight that was, not that it was relative, it was kind of close. It was a little bit back and forth at that point, and Cain getting on top and Brock not being able to get up is what lost him that fight, I would argue, and being punched in the face a lot. But I would say that I have had high-level wrestlers start training under me and say, hey, I really want to learn guard. What guards should I focus on? And kind of my answer is the guards that are closest to wrestling, the guards that get you closest to what you're already good at, because you will know how to get from there to what you're already good at almost naturally, because you've probably done something like it before. And of course, we'll tweak the little things to make sure you're not getting submitted as you're coming up and stuff like that. But here's always my question to these guys, too, especially when you have a legitimate high-level wrestler. And I say, okay, well, if we were in a match, how would you go about, how long do you think it would take us to work on your guard if you go into a match and a guy was good enough to out wrestle you and put you on your back, and then we're down 2 and you're going to need to either score or submit him? How long do you think we would need to work to get to that level of guard play? And a lot of times they would look at me and be like, I don't know if we could. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if we could either, brother. And I'm like, so let's use guard strategically. Of course, let's get good at getting up, right? Let's get good at just that part of it, is just being able to keep wrestling going. But let's get good, if we are playing guards, get good at guards that lead to single legs. Get good at guards that lead to even bad wrestling positions. Because here's the thing is, like, if you ask, if you are a high-level wrestler, if you ask high-level wrestlers, like, hey, we could either both start standing. This person you're going with is probably better than you. We can both start standing and disconnected, or you can start like kind of on your face with a low single hug on the ankle. Or you can start like, on your butt with a single leg hug on the knee. Like, okay, yeah, I would choose a leg. I would choose to be down and have the leg than be disconnected against this good person, right? So that's how you should focus on your guard. If you are a lot bigger, your thoughts should be, I want to utilize that I am bigger, but when I can't because I'm on bottom, I want to be good at getting back to utilizing where I am bigger, right? You want to use your strengths that are not, again, overly physical, right? Being heavy is not physical. Like, squeezing is physical. Trying to, do things like that, but laying is not. It doesn't take a lot of energy to do that, right? And so I would say, I think that if you're worried about what Brock Lesnar would do, then dude, never play guard. He would never go to a jiu-jitsu school. Don't play guard. But if you are worried about being good at jiu-jitsu, I would say you should learn guard, but I don't think you should learn small person guards. If you're 260 pounds and you're 5'11", like, you are not going to be playing a good spider lasso. And that's still a generous ratio than a lot of people have. And so I think that if that is you, you should be focused on things that get you on top more, because especially in competition, you will find that in those heavier weight classes, being on top matters so much. If you're very tall for the heavyweight class, you can play a little differently. But if you're compact, I wouldn't do it. All right, here is a good one. Here is why these type of forms, actually some of these, I don't think I mentioned this, are actually from SureDog. And so I've got some super old ones too in here. But I really like this one. And I think that a lot of people feel this way. And I think a lot of I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show listeners feel this way. Starting BJJ later in life. For those who began BJJ in their 40s or beyond, what challenges did you face and how did you stay motivated? Is it realistic to aim for black belt if you start in midlife, or am I just setting myself up for disappointment by dreaming too big at my age? And so for me, no, I am not in my 40s, so I can't say directly this is how I felt, but I have been a jiu-jitsu coach for 10 years, and I have gotten to take people from that level to either black belt or very near black belt at that age. And I know that a lot of these people will end up at black belt anyway. But it is this thought process again of, can you just continue to learn jiu-jitsu? A lot of the competitive part of jiu-jitsu you should probably ignore. You should probably not focus on as much. Like, in your 40s, if you're thinking longevity, if you think you want to get to black belt, I wouldn't compete a lot, if at all. If you want to challenge yourself, it is a fun thing to do, but a couple times a year max, you do not want to be doing it a lot. There's just so much high chance of injury. And as you age, you're one bad injury away from not being able to train, right? So you need to be smart, and you need to be smart every single day. And the simplest way to look at it is understanding that there is a relationship. If you're going to, especially if you're natural too, this is going to be even more true. But even if you're not, this is true. There is, for every individual, an amount that they can train per week, per month, per year, and do it without catastrophic injury or even constant small injury. And that's what you notice more when you're overtraining, is everything is getting injured, and it's like all the time. That's a really easy indicator that you are overtraining, right? And so again, since it's for the individual, it has to be by experimentation, but it is understanding the relationship between volume and intensity. So intensity is how hard we go when we go into train, and then volume is how long we train and how often we train, okay? And so throughout a week, a lot of people in their 40s or later could handle maybe once a week of hard live competition training, like a natural person in their 40s or later. And it would even be hard for them to show up 2 more times a week to just do not near as hard training, maybe some positional sparring from some dominant positions at a lower intensity, or just sometimes positional sparring from dominant positions beats up your body less. It actually almost always beats up your body less. But you can kind of just think about adjusting how hard you're going to allow you to train more. Or if you train less, you can get away with probably training a little harder during certain things. But again, it is a relationship between volume and intensity. If you are going, I show up 5 times a week and I go as hard as I can, and I am dead at the end of practice, and my fingers always hurt, my back always hurt, and everything always hurt. If you're in your 40s, I promise you, you will not be doing jiu-jitsu in your 50s. And if you do, you're going to be on thin ice and not make it through. You need to train in a way that allows you to feel good in the next training session. And a lot of times it is just adjusting that intensity down. And for a lot of people, as they get older, every 2 weeks you can roll hard. And when I say roll hard, I'm thinking like 30 minutes to an hour of live rounds, like an open mat where you're just getting new partners and you're training. Like, and it doesn't mean every round needs to be from the feet or anything like that, but you're training like live rounds, maybe once a week. But in your 40s, I don't think it's smart to go more than that. Twice a week is a lot if you're going really hard and you are natural, especially as you get to your late 40s. Early 40s, man, some people totally naturally, early 40s are still young. They just look good, they feel good, and they, like really are able to keep going. You see that less as you get to your late 40s and early 50s. And, especially on the mats. And so, yeah, that is kind of my general thought is like, if you are this Redditor or Sherdogger, I don't know which one, but if you are that person and you're going, what should I be focused on longevity wise? You should really be focused on learning jiu-jitsu every single day that you show up. No matter if you're just drilling, if you're doing a private lesson, if you are positional sparring, if you're rolling hard. Always focus on getting better. That should always be the goal. And then you should only be competing with yourself, okay? The more you try to compare to other people, whether they're your age or especially if they're younger than you. So many people will go, oh man, this guy's young. I want to be able to beat him. And just physically, you're not going to be able to do that unless you are significantly better at jiu-jitsu. And the only way to do that, the only way to get that much technique is consistency over and just doing it for a long time. And you will find that most of the young guys are not willing to do that. It's just not the day and age that we are in, is that people are down to commit 10, 12 years of their life consistently giving up their weeknights, giving up weekends to try to get good at something. And I think that especially if you're older, just stay in. Stay in. I've seen it where guys left my gym really early on and come back 8 years later, and one of the old men that they used to just dog on is now 8 years older, and he's just easily beating them. And it's not even close. It's like, yeah, that you don't even know jiu-jitsu, dude. I've spent 8 years learning jiu-jitsu. And so that is my thing, is like, learn jiu-jitsu and balance that volume and intensity in a way that keeps you from getting injured. Let's take a quick commercial break. You never let a white belt run class unsupervised, right? So then why are you, a business white belt, still handling your gym's billing, attendance, signups, and website all by yourself? Kicksite is like having a full-time staff that doesn't eat, doesn't snack, doesn't call in sick. And I've used them for years because the software is built specifically for jiu-jitsu coaches who would rather be chasing the back and not chasing down missed payments. So if you're interested, go to kicksite.com/Josh McKinney and try it for free for 30 days. This is the best software for running and managing your gym that exists. Be sure to check them out at kicksite.com. Next Redditor says, turning down rolls, is it considered rude to decline a roll during open mat? Sometimes I'm exhausted or nursing a major injury, but I feel guilty saying no. When someone asks me to spar, I've heard the phrase, never turn down a roll. Is that actually a rule in BJJ culture, or just something people say to push you? There's no actual rules in BJJ culture. Every single rule is just something that somebody says to control you. I'd hate to break it to you, but it just is. And the thought of turning down rolls is really an important one if you are smaller or if you are older. It's not near as important if you are a big, strong, fast athlete. You probably have to turn down way less rolls. And some people just have that attitude of like, no, I just never turn down rolls. And I think for those individuals, that's fine, but not everyone has to do it. If I'm being totally honest with you guys, unless I just don't like a person, I'm probably not turning down a roll ever, right? It's just be like that. But you don't need to do that. And there are times that if I feel like there's a chance of me getting hurt, I'll just go, nah, I'm good. I don't want to roll. And I don't really need to explain it. And that is because, again, the goal, the lens that you should look through is longevity, is you just stay in jiu-jitsu forever. And the way to do that is to protect yourself, is to make sure that your body is not destroyed from jiu-jitsu. And, man, there are people that aren't good training partners and will hurt you if you roll with them, especially if you roll with them when you're really exhausted. And so a lot of us could look back on our last 3 or 4 injuries and go, wait, who was I rolling with when that happened? And like, oh, wow, if it's all 4 different people, then maybe it's just you were training too much. If it's all 4 the same person, like maybe you shouldn't roll with that person anymore, right? You should make sure you prioritize protecting your own body. And so when it comes to turning down rolls at open mat, roll with who you want to roll with. I don't think that is wrong in any way. And honestly, I don't think I would train at a place that didn't allow you to turn down rolls, that was just like, no, you have to accept a roll, especially like you have to accept a roll if it's from a higher belt, I think that you shouldn't avoid losing. If you go, oh no, I can only beat this guy when I'm 100% and I'm a little tired right now, I just did a round. I don't think you should turn down that roll. You should push yourself, right? But when it comes to protecting your body, you should prioritize protecting your body, no doubt. So this one's great. Next question, training partner hygiene. How do I nicely tell a training partner that they have terrible body odor or bad breath? There's a super technical purple belt at my gym who reeks to the point that rolling with them is tough. Is there a tactful way to bring this up without offending them? I don't think so. I think it's going to probably offend anyone if you say, hey, you're the stinky guy. But if it's your homie, you would actually want somebody to tell you that you were the stinky guy. And so, or girl. And so, that is, yeah, I would say that, yeah, especially the bad breath thing. That's tough too. I feel like bad breath is probably more offensive than your gi stinks, right? Because that's who you are as a person. You're putting that gi on, not realizing it stinks, but you walked in with bad breath, right? And so maybe you get them a gift bag. Maybe you go, hey, I got you some gum and a toothbrush and toothpaste and Listerine. And then this natural organic version of Listerine because you seem like a hippie. And I got you some scented candles and some deodorant and some body wash. I got you defense soap, and you just keep hitting them. Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. And so, yeah, I don't think there's a way to do it without offending them, but I think the best way to handle those conversations is you just privately say to somebody like, hey, dude, are you washing your gi every night? Because it stinks. Because some people don't realize that you got to wash your gi every night. Now let's go to the next. Oh, man, this is the king Redditor. The title of this is, in quotes, Innovative White Belt Moves. I'm a white belt who keeps trying crazy, unorthodox moves that I definitely haven't been taught. Ready? Think wild flying armbar attempts from bad positions. What bad position are you able to fly? What bad position are you standing? How are you flying armbarring from? I don't understand how you're flying armbarring from bad positions. Okay, continue. Sorry. Part of me just has fun experimenting, but I know I'm probably reinventing shoddy wheels. Should I just stick to the basics and stop trying to invent moves? Or is it actually good to be creative and experiment as a beginner? That is a great question. So you specifically, no, I don't think so, bro. I don't think you should be trying to invent moves because you're trying to do flying arm bars from bad positions. You or your training partner is going to get injured from that eventually. Anytime you have the overly creative, spazzy people that just go, I'm going to invent new moves and do them at 100%, they always are notorious for hurting themselves or hurting other people. And so you want to avoid that kind of behavior, but you don't want to not be creative in jiu-jitsu. And so if you were this person, or if you're a lower level belt and you were going, man, I know that there's more than these techniques that I'm learning each night and these techniques that I'm seeing online. And I know that there's, to me, it's like you should be innovative on connecting your game together. I don't think you should be thinking of like, I'm going to be innovative by just adding a new move every single day. That doesn't feel innovative. That just feels like you're not trying to master anything. And so you're just trying to have a lot of tricks a lot of times. And when people that are really tricky and like their game is just built around like sneaky leg locks and sneaky wrist locks or whatever, and they just, or they're, what is the other one? Like buggy chokes or whatever, and you build a game around like, oh, I have these sneaky things that I do from bad positions. A lot of times, you don't create layers to your jiu-jitsu. And so meaning like, you don't have what someone would call a long distance guard. So if we're in the gi, like you don't have a spider guard or anything that keeps people at a distance or that you can play against people that when they're at a distance. You don't have a mid-range guard. You have like a smashed bottom half guard. and then a buggy choke, right? And so you ignore 2 layers where you could have created problems for the top player, right? And you could have set up and tried to submit the top player. And so when you focus too much on like, I'm going to create these moves of like, they're going to get me into tricky positions and then I'm going to get good at finishing them, it's very hard to create an actual game out of that. It's better to create a game that you like to follow and then add things to it that make sense. I explain, when I go and watch a class, when I go to a seminar, when I go to anything, my thought process is always, how could I get one thing out of this? What one sentence is different than what I understand? What one move, what one detail is different than what I understand? And the reason it's that way for me now is because I've done jiu-jitsu for so long. So I've seen these techniques being taught. Sometimes I've even seen these techniques being taught by this person. But it is still so valuable to hear how they're explaining it now and hear how they think of it now. And so a lot of times I'm looking at that and going, oh, he changed up where his foot is. And that's enough for me, because that one little detail is the innovation that I need, right? And so focus on a game that makes sense first. Really focus on a game that allows you to climb the positional ladder, okay? And the positional ladder is like, you start in bottom mount or back mount. You get back maybe to half guard or quarter guard. Then you get back to half guard. Then you get back to close guard. Then you get back to a longer distance guard. Or you go from one of those other positions to you get on top. That's the next level of the ladder. And then after that, you pass their guard. Then you go to mount. And then you have them in back mount, right? And so being able to just consistently go, we're in a position, and the next closest position is this, and this is how I get there. That's, to me, a jiu-jitsu game, just being able to grapple in that way. You don't need a submission from every position. You don't need 3 moves from every position. You need to be able to get to the next position, however that looks. Once you create a game that starts to make sense like that, then you can start to innovate. Then you can go, what if I passed with my other leg forward? What if I tried to do it this way? What if I tried to do it that way? But you've created this framework first that is always going to be there in your jiu-jitsu. And you're never going to go, oh, there's this whole, I don't know how to play guard. No, you've always been good at climbing back up the ladder, and just keep getting into a slightly better position and not having to think in terms of, like I used to, when I was early on, I used to have a really good guard for my age and divisions. And I would feel like if I swept somebody to mount, some of my closed guard sweeps would get people to mount, and I was getting really good at them, I would literally get my points and then let the person bridge and roll me and then play guard again, because I just didn't feel comfortable playing mount, because I didn't understand how to really climb the positional ladder yet. As I did, there was a point at purple belt where I go, I think I prefer playing top, because I just started to get in the mindset at blue belt of, well, when I come up, I'm getting swept too much. I need to pass. And then I learned to pass. And then I learned to play side control. And then I started to go, I think I would rather just do this part of the game. Everyone wants to play bottom in my division now. And it was only because I've been able to make those choices, because it's always been about understanding how do we just go from this position, not kind of cop out or anything like that, and just continue to try to win from that position. And that should more be the mindset. And so that's like, besides injury risk, that is the problem with trying to be too innovative too early, is you don't create a framework that makes sense, and you become the guy who only plays bottom side control. And it's like, oh, he has a lot of tricky submissions. You go with a good guy, I promise you, you will go with somebody who's great at top side control. And since you're at a disadvantage, a bad position, they're gonna win. And you are, it is smart to just focus on building a game that makes sense, and using that framework of the positional ladder makes it make so much more sense. Number 7, tall guy problems. Is BJJ only for short guys? Half kidding, half serious. I'm 6'4", and sometimes it feels like my long limbs are just extra targets for arm bars, triangles, and leg locks. Do taller grapplers have any natural advantages that I'm not seeing? Or is this sport truly easier for people with lower center of gravity and compact build? So this is an interesting question because it's a question that no matter who is asking it, someone has thought that way. If you're short, you've gone with a really tall guy and gone, man, we're the same belt level and the same weight, but he just demolished me because I don't know. Is it just because he's tall? I got triangled 3 times. People say long legs, you get triangled. Well, here's the thing. Pretty much, of course, the less athletic you are, the less access to athleticism you have. But when it comes to body types, when it comes to height especially, there are advantages and disadvantages. I feel like there are some people that I go with that are so short that they can pull their elbow to their rib cage so easily, even when I'm going for an armbar. And the easiest armbar defense is just to pull your elbow to your rib. If you're here, you are no longer being armbarred, right? And so any movement that allows you to get that elbow in and just get your elbow to your ribs is going to protect you. When you have an arm that is 2 feet long, you can pull that elbow in so quickly and so easily. And so, and your shoulder's smaller, it's harder to control. And so in that sense, it is better to be smaller. If you are a little taller and your arm, it's so much more arm for you to get your elbow to your ribs, right? That part of your arm is not going to be able to pinch very well. And so, and then once your leg gets into that armpit space, it's very easy to pry the longer arm, and finish the armbar. But sometimes you're going for leg locks on a short guy, and it's like their foot fits right into your armpit, and you're able to control the toes exactly how you should, and it allows you to finish it really easy. Their foot is in perfect position. You go with a tall person, and their foot is 1 foot past where the other guy's was. And so in order to get all the way over there and actually get that lock, what you end up having to do is give up a lot of your control, and then they end up getting free, right? And so there are going to be positive and negatives when it comes to height for basically every height. I could list off all of these things. I've seen short guys be able to, when they're in front headlock, get their hips high so much easier than a taller person can. Taller person with longer legs, it's so much harder for them to get their legs underneath them, and especially without getting cradled or something like that, right? And you see these positions all the time. One of the easiest ways to start to understand your jiu-jitsu, though, is you go, well, what positives come from this and what negatives come from this? And so, if you're tall, people will always tell you, oh, you have long legs, you should do triangles. I don't think you think that specifically. That's just way too specific of a thing to just say all tall guys should be good at triangle chokes. Something about playing guard when you're tall is it's easier for you to keep your head free because your head is farther away from me. But once I get to your head, because your arms are so long, it's harder for you to get your hands inside and push me away. Okay. So I think as a tall guy, you got to prioritize keeping your head free basically everywhere. I think everyone should prioritize that when they're playing bottom. But when you're tall, it's easier to keep your head free, but it's harder to free your head. When you're short, it's easier to get your head caught, but you can pummel your head under and move your body under, and your hands are closer to the fight. And so, I would say that there really are disadvantages for being tall sometimes, but anything in excess too. I've told you guys the story of when I fought the guy that was 6'9". In my mind, he told me 6'10", but they were claiming that he said 6'9". I swore he said 6'10". Regardless, your boy Josh McKinney is 5'10" and not even 1/8, right? Not even 1/16. 5'10" even. This dude was a monster. And there was this one point that I was doing the old, I'm so smooth. He's about to pass my guard. I'm just going to get up and get away from him. And I got up like all the way up to my knee. If you watch my YouTube video, I drink coffee and fight blue belts on the YouTube channel that has this clip on it. But I'm trying to get away from this guy, and he reaches up a foot further than anyone has ever reached, and he grabs the horse collar part of my lapel, which is, of course, don't let people control your head. Don't let them control your neck. What did we just talk about, Josh? And he pulled me back like a little child. And I did think in my mind for 1 second, I wasn't trying to make excuses, but it shot through it was an excuse, and I'm admitting this to you, but it shot through my mind. I looked up at my coaches, I looked up at my team, and normally they always have something to say. And they had nothing to say. They were just like, Josh, get out of there. And the thought went through my mind, if this dude was just like 6'5", I think I would have gotten away with there, man. Come on. How are you going to be this? Why aren't you playing basketball? What are we doing here, dude? And then I snapped out of it and took my beating like a man. And so you guys would have been proud of that part. Made no excuses afterwards, but that excuse went through my mind, and I'm just now admitting that to you guys 2-3 years later. Have you ever finished a roll and thought, what was I even doing out there? Same. We have all felt that way. And that is why you need Jiu-Jitsu for Imbeciles, a free course from Rob Bernacki that explains Jiu-Jitsu so clearly, it makes you wonder how you ever got confused in the first place. I am telling you, it is like a TED Talk for people who suck at Jiu-Jitsu. And that is why they're giving it totally free to I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show listeners. So go to bjjmentalmodels.com/ISuck and download it for free right now before you throw away another roll chasing guillotines from bottom side. What their regimen should be, keeping them motivated, staying on them, helping them get to their goals with the knowledge that you have. Then that's a coach. If you are very good, maybe you're not good at those things. Maybe you are good at when people show up to the gym, they learn amazing jiu-jitsu. You can explain your jiu-jitsu better. You can show your jiu-jitsu and give it to the crowd better. That is an instructor. That's a teacher, okay? And so this person's thing was about coaches. What makes a great coach? I kind of listed it, but a great coach is somebody who cares about the individuals that come through the door, right? That is, honestly, I don't want to break your guys' hearts, but a great instructor doesn't have to care at all. They just have to know good jiu-jitsu and be good at explaining it, but they really don't have to care about you. A great coach, to be a great coach, they have to care. And so when you see that quality in somebody, that they are a great coach and a great leader, a lot of times the care that they give you is legitimate. Like in the way that you feel cared for is legitimate. It's not some fake thing, right? And so, I just think that understanding that there is a difference between a great BJJ instructor and a great BJJ coach, and then knowing that, like, a great coach cares, but also is generally always learning. Like, they are usually going, hey, this is the problem that we've been having. What could we do to solve it? Or maybe you're telling your coach, this is the problem that I've been having. What could I do to solve it? And maybe they don't have good technical answers, but they know we should positional spar this way. Here is a perfect example for jiu-jitsu coaches, and I'm going to tie in my next commercial to this example. So the commercial is for BJJ Mental Models Premium, where I am a match review coach. And so how this works is you can pay for the coaching tier of BJJ Mental Models Premium, and you will find that you get certain amount of access to a list of really cool high-level coaches to review different matches that you've had or different rounds that you've had. And it's been really interesting because I think you get a certain amount of allotted time each month that you get to send in. And then like a lot of, for me, like the people that I'm reviewing typically have requested me. And so it's people that I've reviewed for a good amount of times. But there has been a group of coaches that have figured out this hack for the game. And the hack for the game is that they will, I think they're up to probably the top tier of Mental Models Premium, but they will send in students matches and say, what should this person work? Here are my observations. What should they work? Give me some games they could play, whatever, right? Tell me what they did wrong, what they did right. How should we focus? What should we focus on for the next tournament? That to me is a coach right there. I don't know the answer, but I can take gym dues and I can apply them to BJJ Mental Models Premium. I can get in some match reviews. And then you go like, well, yeah, here is the list of things that this person said. And also here's the video of this high-level coach explaining what you did wrong. And it just, to me, it's like a good coach knows where they don't have the ability to help you, but still finds a way to help you, right? And so that is what I've always seen out of my coach. You know, it was a really cool message I got the other day. An episode with my coach Kyle Watson and Mark Vivas came out a couple weeks ago, and a very fun episode, but we talk a ton about jiu-jitsu competition. And one of the clips came out, and it's a minute long, and it's just Kyle talking about coaching me. And we're kind of talking about like, yeah, we've been doing this with Kyle coaching me at jiu-jitsu tournaments for 17 years now, right? Like I did my first tournament 17 years ago and Kyle was coaching me. And so we've gotten so many reps of doing that together. And he was just talking about in depths of how he thinks about coaching when he's coaching me in a match. And somebody sent me a message and goes, I listened to this. I haven't even listened to the episode yet, but I listened to the 60-second clip and I see why you've been under this guy for 17 years. And I was just like, yeah, right. That's what makes a good coach, is somebody who cares, right? Somebody who, and that's like the thing I've always gotten from my coach is I know that my progression, whether it's as a competitor or a jiu-jitsu school owner or as a instructor or as a coach, he's always been so for me and there to help me in any way that he can. And then he also would acknowledge like, hey, I don't have all the answers. I'm going to bring in this guy for a seminar that's really good, and he might help you be able to play guard. I'm like, oh, wow, that would be so helpful for me. And so recognizing like where they don't have the answers, those are the two things that I'm looking for if I am looking for a great coach. Now, let's look at this one. This one's hilarious. This is number 9, only 2 more left. And number 10 is so worth sticking around for because I'm going to tell you guys how to fix probably the biggest problem that every single one of us has in jiu-jitsu. Number 9, I faked being unconscious to escape a guillotine. Did I break jiu-jitsu etiquette? That was the title of this. I feel like there's no real reason to read this paragraph, but it's still amazing. I was caught in a tight kind of slumped like I was. Wait, where was I? Sorry. I was caught in a tight guillotine, so I stopped moving and kind of slumped like I was out. My partner loosened up. I popped my head out and got top position. He was super mad and said I faked a medical emergency. I said, Sun Tzu would have done it. Was that unsportsmanlike or just high-level deception? Okay. A lot of these things I say, hey, people will figure out little cheats, and I'll go, oh, that's a black belt move. That's a white belt move. Don't fake going unconscious, because here's the problem. What if the person doesn't realize that you are unconscious? Okay? And then you're continuing to be choked, and then you do go to sleep, right? Or what if you become the boy who cried unconscious, and then you fake it one time and you go to sleep, or you go to sleep and this dude is mad about the Sun Tzu quote, and he's like, I'm going to choke him until he's actually unconscious, and then you're dead, right? Not a good call. Definitely tap to chokes. That used to be this thing. It really was. We always will joke at my gym now is like, it used to be a thing that you weren't even allowed to be a jiu-jitsu blue belt unless you've gone unconscious. And I'm like, raise your hand if you're a blue belt in here and you've gone unconscious. Nobody has. Like, what's wrong with you guys? Why are you tapping? But in truth, it's genius to tap. Absolutely genius. It was such a dumb idea to be like, yeah, chokes won't hurt you. Just go to sleep. Don't do that. Absolutely don't do that. I've trained at places, this is honest, where people really were like that, and then they sucked. And I would show up and put 15 people combined, like throughout the rounds that I did, to sleep. And you guys know, at a point, I'm not doing arm locks anymore because they're going to let me break their arms. So I'm like, hey, I'm just going to be putting these people asleep, and then I'm never going to train with them again because they are nuts. But they would literally be like, yeah, I didn't tap to it. I'd be like, yeah, but you died to it. You tap so you don't die. And so you don't want to do that. Other part of the story, or other story on this topic of not tapping, pretending you're unconscious. I am a man betrayed by the art that he loves. My name's Josh McKinney, and as most of you know, I've been cursed with the burden of fixing jiu-jitsu. With your help, we're going to heel hook the fake black belts, every single one of them. Those mat bullies that you're dealing with, we're going to pressure tap them. In Reddit BJJ, we're burning it to the ground unless they allow me to post my podcast episodes and quit deleting them. But I can't do this alone. Every like, every comment, every 5-star review, it fuels the mission, it powers the algorithm, and honestly, it keeps me from turning to the dark side and opening a karate school in a strip mall between a CBD store and Spencer's Gifts. So if you believe in better jiu-jitsu, review the podcast, do it for the future, do it for the children, but most importantly, do it so you never have to hear someone say "os" ever again. One time, I'm out of town, and this is when I used to teach 6 days a week, twice a day, a lot of days, just every single class. And so when I was gone, it was so hard to find enough people to fill like coaching roles. But it's a Wednesday night. I'm out of town. I've got one of my best coaches there. I've got Big Eric Huebner, been on the podcast. He's the guy. He takes care of the gym. He makes people do push-ups and stuff at this time. This is way early days, head nod, but he stopped making people do that kind of stuff, I believe. But he would, he was running class. I get a call at 7:30, class ended at 7, and he's like, hey, have you talked to our boy Carl? And I go, no, I haven't. Why? And he goes, Carl may want to lay low for a few days. And I go, why? He goes, he may have killed a man. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, man, he choked Brian unconscious, so unconscious that he was out for days. This isn't guest producer Brian Allen, if you guys are wondering, but he choked Brian out forever. And he's like, he finally woke up, but he was out forever. We were freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's scary. I had security cameras at the gym, so I checked the security camera. Carl is straight up choking this dude for like 15 seconds after he's unconscious. I swear to you. I am like, what is wrong with Carl? I got to sit this guy down. And Carl, keep in mind, is one of the nicest human beings in the world and would never hurt anybody. And he goes, and I go, Carl, what were you doing? How did you not realize that he went out? And he goes, I thought he was playing possum. He does that. And I was like, dang. I'm like, you know what? This feels like it could be a little bit of Brian's fault too, you know? And so don't play possum. Don't mess with chokes. Tap to chokes. See if you can spin out of them, right? A lot of times you're getting choked and you aren't being held in the position and you can get out of it. Like if you're in a head and arm choke or something like that, probably tap chokes that risk your neck more, north-south chokes. Oh, it's more of a crank. Tap to that too. Just don't get better at not getting there. But don't fake being unconscious. Now, this is the best one that I've ever seen on Reddit, and it is, why is it impossible to remember anyone's name at jiu-jitsu? And I mean, the why is that you meet a lot of new people at jiu-jitsu. Like, you forget that as you become an adult, you stop meeting new people all the time. At jiu-jitsu class, you meet, if you have a busy gym, you meet new people every single night, right? Your coach is the same way. Your coach knows nobody's name either, okay? And so a lot of times you will go, hey, what's your name? And then they will say, oh, it's Elijah. And then you'll go, okay, sounds good. And then you'll train with that person. Then you won't ask them their name again. And then you will go like, okay, I'm going to remember that. And then you meet 3 other people that night. Then you see Elijah again. You're like, hey, bro, it's great to see you, man. And so that he becomes bro and man forever. It's an honest mistake. We all make it. But if you actually care about fixing it, here is what I've done as a jiu-jitsu coach to learn people's names. And then I'll even give you one hack for when I don't know people's names. And it's not just to call them bro. I'll do that too most of the time. But if I really need to learn their name, I got a good hack for you too. So first thing about remembering someone's name is you actually have to care about remembering it, right? So if somebody says John and you just don't even hear that, you don't even acknowledge what they just said, you're not going to remember that their name's John, right? There are people named Josh that I've had to ask, like, hey, what was your name again? And they'll be like, it's your name. And I'll be like, my first name? Like, yeah. Oh, nice to meet you, Josh. Good to see you again. And, you know, it's embarrassing. But the first reason that happens is because we just, a lot of times, just ignore it. If you make an effort and you go, I'm going to start remembering people's names, it will pop into your head when somebody says their name to you. The first thing that you do is when you hear John, you say, in this conversation, I'm going to say the name John at least 3 times. Okay. One, it's actually a very nice thing for building rapport with somebody. It is, if you remember somebody's name, it really makes them feel special because most of us don't remember each other's names. And so you introduce me to yourself like, oh, hey, I'm John. Like, oh, John, it's nice to meet you, John. Great to see you again, John. No, you don't go that hard. There's a scene in How I Met Your Mother where Barney is trying to teach Randy. He's this not really very often reoccurring character, but he's trying to teach him how to pick up chicks, and Randy is not very good at it. And so Barney creates 3 rules. And so he's like, what are the 3 rules? And Randy says, isolate her from her friends, repeat her name in conversation, subtly put her down. And then he goes to his first mark and he says, hey, what's your name? And she goes, Tina. And he goes, Tina? That's a nice name, Tina. Come over here. And then she walks away from her friends. And then he says, Tina, you are a fat, ugly whore. And that was him subtly putting her down. It obviously didn't work. But that is a... that thought of repeating somebody's name is a way, it's like a tactic, salespeople use it. It's just a way to kind of build connection with people. But for me, it's a way to remember people's name in the jiu-jitsu space. It makes it so much easier for you to remember their name. The other thing that you can do after you've repeated their name 3 times and just consciously tried to remember their name is if you don't, you can ask them again. And a lot of times I will feel pretty confident on a name and I'll be like, your name is John, right? And I won't say what's your name again. Like if I really feel like I remember it, I will ask. And I usually feel like I can get that because you go months without seeing people too. Like you meet them once and then you go a long time. And so, but the more you do it, it's weird. It's a skill that you can actually develop to remember people's names. I've seen people do it at seminars where they remember everybody's name by the end of the seminar and there's 30, 40 people in there or more. And it's their first time meeting most of the people. And so, it's a skill that is very developable. But you really just have to care and repeat people's name. Or then if you don't remember their name, you can just ask them, hey, I can't remember your name. I'm sorry. What's your name? And you do that once. But if you wait 6 weeks and they keep coming in and you haven't done it, then it's weird. And so you got to do it quick. Okay. The last thing, and this is the super secret move. And I don't know if you do this or not. Maybe I'm the only bad person that does this. But you are, especially if you're a jiu-jitsu coach, but anyone can do it. I'm sure we all have our little groups in the jiu-jitsu space, in our jiu-jitsu gym that have just been around for so long that we can talk about super top secret stuff. And so you go to one of those dudes and you go, hey, have you met this bald guy over here? And a lot of times he'll be like, no, I haven't met him yet. Hey, do the next round with him and ask him his name and then tell me his name, because he's been coming here for 3 years and I still don't know his name. And that's how you do it. And so having the secret new guy, and I have a few guys that I can kind of rely on to ask people's names. And then some of them are so great. They'll be like, yeah, I've met him before, but I don't remember his name. I'll just, but I've only met him once, I'll just ask him, oh dude, I don't remember your name. What was it? 10 out of 10 right there. That is the last Reddit post. I actually liked the Reddit questions. They were pretty fun. I didn't choose the worst Reddit questions. If you guys ever want me to do one of those, I could do one where I do horrible Reddit questions, but I just like some things that can get us going on some deeper topics too. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, of course, give us a comment, give us a like, give us a share. But besides that, I hope that this episode had something in it that was helpful for you guys. Hope that today you suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu. Have a great day, guys.